Oop. There we go. That's a bit better. All right. I'm going to go and do laundry. So, I was thinking about, yeah, I had just some thoughts in my mind. And so I was like, oh, yeah, the Ben Shapiro thing. Yeah, that. I knew that was going to happen. I didn't, I mean, in a way, I actually was counting, I was hoping it would be Ben Shapiro. We have come to the pre-Vendée movement. The Vendée massacre, as Anne Barnhardt pointed out, was going to come and be brought to us again by the left. The Vendée massacre was not that the people of the Vendée said no, we don't want the revolution. The people of the Vendée were fine with the revolution. Apparently, the local, whoever the local lords and stuff were over that area, because, like I said in like videos before, or what I suggest you look up on HBD Chicks, WordPress, I believe it's a WordPress blog, where she talks about the French, not mansion system. Okay, it's just the word specific, manorialism. French manorialism. There's lots of different manorialism, but the French manorialism was particularly effective in creating what we eventually like associate with the idea of there being lots of tiers of people in the middle of society with lots of different skills, and that they travel to and fro. They're relatively free to travel because they actually are skilled enough that after generations of manorialism, that they actually like staying in a business of some sort. And so this is where you get the very idea of people spreading French cooking, from what I've gathered. I mean, why would they have ever left the castles and elite kitchens? Like, I mean, really, like, why? Why would they? Well, there was the revolution. So all these people who had these skills from the old manorial periods moved around during the revolution or after it and stuff. So all these different skills got mixed up in society. And I'm imagining this was starting to happen a bit before then, as probably manors would go under. Somebody would, lose all their money. And so a lot of people would leave the area or move to another area, and they would take with them the various skills that had developed in this tight little group, this French manor that had survived through periods of plague and warfare. To gestate, like stuff that we still have things like shoe dough. And if I'm recalling correctly, that's referring to a very specific place. We still refer to French stuff by the very specific place it came from, because of how manorialism protected and gestated French parts, different unique sections of French culture. So, and we have this to some degree in the United States. Liberals like saying that America has no culture at all, there's just nothing here, blah, blah, blah. But they can talk about going from place to place and there being differences. At one time in the 90s, this was well understood and celebrated. It was celebrated by those of us who were liberals. We celebrated the fact that we were from where we were from and that there were these things unique and that they were good. It wasn't that we were dangerous people. Really, there's all these different, one of the most famous, I remember, that's a great example of this. I mean, you have everything from, was it Dirty Water, Boston, You're My Home. You have, was it Sitting Dock by the Bay. There are lots of songs about San Francisco. There's even a radio station that for years, it's ads where, when the lights go down in the city. And so then you have, was it Guru and Gangstar, Brooklyn. And then you have was it Crooklyn, and the Crooklyn Dodgers and stuff. That was a bit more gangster, but There was a sudden love and acclaim of the love one had for where they were from. No, this is where we're from. And especially those of us from San Francisco, we that was a big thing. The Oakland, San Francisco, and it was funny because then you would get like the kind of wealthier white kids from Berkeley a lot of times, who would be, and it was just funny because it was like they obviously like they were in this little area that gestated people only like them. And it was really kind of interesting because there would be like you would meet people from Berkeley and you would and it's like they were interesting people. It's just they were their own type. They were their own type. They were these quintessential like hippie liberals who you were like, where are you from? Oh, Berkeley. Really? You can be that soft and weird someplace, and it's like you don't get beaten up by black guys all the time, like really, and yeah, so which tells you the cultural changes that were happening as well. I never saw a hippie in San Francisco growing up. They were the homeless kids who would be spanging. Never, there was like one or two of these random white kids who would be into a band you'd never heard of called the Grateful Dead or something like that, and you'd be, or their mom smokes pot, and you're like, what? Your mom smokes pot, what? Did you just say that out loud? Um, so I started thinking about just the cultural change and the change that the left has made, where now they're these, they are now obviously a force of people who are in cahoots. They're down with a cause. This is why, like, they don't let crime reports get above a city level of reporting. Um, cities that have mass shootings the most are cities where the black people are committing the mass shootings and almost most of the crime. And they won't let that, nobody wants to let that stat out. Nobody wants to let that reality out. Um, the sanctuary city movement, these just completely demented anti-constitutional magic dirt dumbasses that are what they're actually asking for crime. They're begging for cartels and gang members to come in and start making these people's lives the same it was down there or worse. Um, that these people can't enter normal public life as illegal immigrants, and then on top of it, it's like you don't know the difference between any of them now. So you don't know if this guy is just some gangster looking illegal immigrant or if he's actually a gangster and that he's trying to exploit the others who aren't, who are just normal people who are just stupid as hell, and they thought that somehow they could just come to another country and work here, because that's likely what the issue is, that they're stupid as hell. These aren't doctors and engineers. They're not. Most of the time they can't read above even an eighth grade level in their own language, like way more often than not. Legal immigrants, it's hard. It means, oh, you actually have to have stayed in school. Now people are starting to understand that. That's what the legal versus illegal immigrant. Oh, it's so hard to become a legal immigrant though, because it means you actually have to be smart enough to learn English. That usually means you have to have started young. That means you had to have had people who sent you to a school that was teaching you English, that you were learning that as a second language. This means you had to have really been committed to the idea of becoming a United States citizen for a long time, which is really good. So because it's good, Democrats don't like it. Liberals don't like it. The fundamentally now, the white liberal chaos loving chaos magic chicks and the godless Jews, the Hebrews who have given up on God, in particular, love pushing this shit as if it's some incredible set of ideals. You guys don't even understand the level of idealism we're at. because of your white power and your oppression and your penises. Well, I started one of the stories that doesn't get above the level of the local state. Thomas Wichter, when he left California, had pointed out California has altered sentencing so that you don't have to have real like mental problems. You could have just had a mental problem at the time you committed the crime. Problem solved. Now this person isn't exactly a rapist or murderer. They were feeling cray-cray that day, and they had to use their AK, you know. So you know, they had to go. They had to you know, kill these Crip niggas because they were seeing red. Oh, ha ha. You know, oh, that's clever. Okay, we're gonna give you a year. You know. And it's really, you know, because California now can't handle the incredible burden of its prison system. You know, that it just cannot monetarily handle what it just how fucked up it is. So this means that people can commit now violent crime and just get away with it. That's totally cool. California passed all kinds of fascinating laws like this. Wichter was like, no, that's it. This now means that if somebody is trying to kill me and I shoot them in self-defense, it's more likely I will go to jail for murder than them going to jail for attempted murder. You know, that he's like, I have no idea if I'll ever be able to. And then he pointed out how California will fuck around with voter rolls to kick Republicans off or confuse the paperwork of Republicans so that Republicans have to go through multiple hoops to get back on the voter rolls. That was another one he pointed out. A kind of thing that you can't get above the local newspaper level. Just those anecdotes, you know, because you can't go digging through their records because there's nobody who can check these motherfuckers, because that's the revolution. The revolution is what matters. You know, you and your laws and your ethics and morals, the history of the country, no, that's all going to go because the revolution, and don't question the revolution. And you will not be able to question the revolution when you teach your own children your religion. And Benny Shapiro showed it all. He finally proved to me, I was like, yes, when you are that extreme in your religiosity, there is a line. And over that line, you have to existentially fight. People don't, that's the one thing people don't get about the Jews in this sense. Because I've been to Israel, and you would be surprised at kind of how, like, I mean, you're not, it's not, the people aren't like buttoned down and conservative or something like that. They're just chilling. It's like, you're kind of shocked at sort of how well it makes so much sense, because people will yell at each other for stuff. Be like, what the fuck are you doing? Get the fuck out of my way. Like, people will yell at each other about stuff. And you know, fuck you, you know, whatever. You know, but it's just, yeah, he was in my fucking way. He knew he was in my fucking way. See, he said, fuck you. And you know, it's, so it works. And people blow off steam constantly. People don't smile because they just have to. No. If somebody doesn't feel like smiling, they don't. You know, it was actually very unnerving. And somebody was like, okay, you Americans got to get used to this. And I was like, oh, okay. No, I've encountered enough people in San Francisco of different kinds that okay, no, I get it. They don't know me. I'm not their friend, you know. It's like, I want something. I'm going to probably buy it whether they smile or not. That's because that's not actually what sells shit in most of the world. It's the item sells itself. It's in America. We're always selling everything to nervous white women. So, and we're always being nervous and pensive like educated white women. Now everything's effeminate and pensive and nervous all the time. Oh, maybe illegal immigrants are like have a right to rape. He just found the gun and then he shot Kate Steinle. It was like a magic gun. We should ban guns. And so so this is the thing about the Vendée massacre was they said you can't appoint our priests though, and the revolution said, "What are you talking about? We can't appoint your priests? No. We're going to be appointing your priests." And they were like, "No, you aren't. No. That's a step too far." And that's when it became skirmish warfare against civilians. And it was absolutely brutal. The revolution was absolutely brutal, using rape as a weapon. This is exactly what Ian Barnhardt said. They'll use the illegal immigrant gangs as weapons. They will use the ex-convicts. They will start letting the ex-convicts out of jail. They'll use the ex-cons as weapons. Notice there was some legislation like that recently. And Barnhardt is vindicated. And it's this thing, I know, even whatever she feels about Trump, I don't even know, but I know she saw it. She told us, and the way the vigor with which she told us this, she saw it. He revealed it to her. He revealed it to her. And we're lucky, we're very fortunate that something that must have struck her with horror and pain, that she did an entire beautiful presentation of how the left would do this here. That by the end of it, they would be insisting that they have to rape your sons for your son's own good. And to assign them a mentor, to make sure this mentor could determine whether they're trans or not, Your son acts a little gay. Maybe they should hang out with this older gay mentor. This gay mentor could guide them through their experiences. I forget where that story came up, and that was just amazing. That might have been Jim's stream. That you said teens will be mentored by older homosexuals. That was great. So it was some program, and so Ben Shapiro actually has, you see, most American white Christians are not that, they're not that dedicated. See, the black Christians who are like crazy as hell, their kids will come home, tell them all this LGBTQ stuff, and then black Christians will be like, okay, those people are broken, they're white trash, they'll say things that black people can say that to their children. Black people know that and go back out into white society, having had an ear full of that. And this is why black people commit all this crime against white people, because their moms, their aunties, they just go off about everybody. I saw it. I ate at these tables. I kept my mouth shut. They were putting food they were putting food on my plate, so they could say what they want at their table. I never forgot it though. I remembered. This is how these people really think, because I know that's not what's said around my dinner table. Nothing like that is said by my white father around our dinner table. And so Ben Shapiro is doing what he is going full true Jew. Where he's a real Jew. He's disproven everybody. He's a real Jew. I think Luke Ford knew this was coming. I think Luke Ford, some part of him knew at some point. Like, I mean, he was probably expecting it from somebody within the rabbinical community to become real firebrand about something. I don't think he was. I don't think anybody was expecting Shapiro, but it had to be. It had to be Shapiro. It has to be. He had to say there's this is nobody else. Think who else could have said this that would have taken conservative ink and said, "You motherfuckers, you know who we are. You better fucking do something." And you know, because you white men aren't important to Conservative Incorporated. Your concerns don't matter. Candace Owens and them, it kind of matters, but no. What this is that there's all these log cabin guys and all these very well dressed, these socks that pop kind of guys up there on the hill. And well, we need them to lobby, and and they're really good at getting that support out. White women seem to love a guy whose socks pop. He's got nice hair. He has great diction, and his socks pop. And so they're willing to this kind of let the LGBTQ thing kind of sit there, and they're like, it was like one of the greatest defenses of marriage I ever heard was from Alan Keyes. Remember that guy? Beautiful defense of marriage. Actually changed my understanding. Really, actually made me have to seriously sit back and go, maybe I need to reevaluate the entire moral language and legal language that I'm dealing with here. Maybe what my issue is that I am not being creative like so many of us. That people can make contracts about their stuff and their medical issues. There can be contracts made on this. It's called a lawyer. It's called this actually no, these people wanted to ruin marriage. They knew they were ruining it. That's what they knew they were cheapening the idea. Because marriage is hard work. Staying married is hard work. Getting married is expensive. It is called the leap. Taking the leap. And so now it's we get to see that the Vendée, the revolution has come to the point where finally now the Jew has to say, you can't teach my children that. I am a Jew. And I've put them into Jewish school. And you are now saying that my rabbi must alter our historic rituals of faith. We must alter our way because you all have a fixation on appealing to this group of people who simply don't matter to society almost whatsoever. I just love when people fuck with the Jews in a way like that, where you're like, do you not understand that you needed to make a deal with these people? Do you not understand? No, they don't. I think one of the greatest lessons of the past generation has been, do not underestimate Jews. Don't fuck with them and don't underestimate them. That seems to be all somewhere Moshe Dayan is probably like, exactly. Right, Moses, right? Yeah. Right? Don't fuck with them and don't underestimate them. Yeah. So and don't overestimate the Chinese. There's another lesson, but that's a whole different video. But this was something that just hit me, that what Shapiro fundamentally really, no matter how silly it might have come across to some people, because he's like, isn't he like 4'5", or something? No, he is like something like 5'4", something like that, 5'5". But lifting weights will make you bigger. Lift me, you'll be one dead ass. Because those are called bullets, and they make them in every state to keep like you in place. And they're like as Bushwick Bill said, and size ain't shit. It's like that's why they made the gun. That's why Galil and Uzi Galil is a famous name. Um, and so he basically said it. You're going to try to fuck with our religious rights, and you're going to fuck with our religious schools. That's the big one. That's the big one. That's off limits. Even in Europe, they knew don't mess around with that. You start fucking around with that, you're that's it. Everybody knows that you will, like you're gonna alter the print in their Bible. Like you got to be committed. You got to be committed to be anti-religious. Then you have to have your people ready to burn books if you're going to go there, and that's why Ben understands this. Ben understands there's certain steps there's logical steps when you try to alter a religion. There's logical steps. There's only so many governments who really tried to alter them and keep them sort of intact. There's a whole history to this, and he knows about it. And that's why he went boom. He's like, "You're gonna what? You're going to we're now we've got to marry you. My rabbi's got to marry you. My community has to accept this. In a place that's sacred to God. What? What's supposed to come out of my teacher's mouth and go into my children's ears at their religious school? What? And it's and that's why it's like what? That's what happened. What? And honestly, I hope people like Luke Ford and other right wing Jews, I push you. You get behind and you push and you push and and you push and you push. Oh my God, forward march. Because the thing is, the Christians, the Christians are often, the Protestant Christians are a little lackadaisical. And they can be. The Catholics have their own problems. The revolution is the revolution is standing there handing them the bread. So now this is this thing of like, no, you gotta push back. Remember when the committee and the Congress were still arguing over dumb shit. Push back. Make them understand the power. Make them understand that little hat's got power. that vest, that prayer shawl, that shit has power. It really, because also the other thing is, nobody's going to stand by and let the left pick on a little Jew. This is really one of these things that I gotta say, the right wingers, that no matter what, but at a certain point, there's a point at which that every right winger, it's like, why are you gonna just go fucking with somebody who can't fight back? Like when they took on the Covington kids, that wasn't a Catholic thing, that was a Christian thing, that wasn't a white thing. It's like, why are you fucking with a bunch of kids? Why don't you come and get some with some of us older guys? Why don't you and then you guys found the history of that fucking frumpy old Indian, and you made him look like a moron. That guy, now everywhere he shows up, people are making fun of that guy. Oh my God, that's right. I mean, that's like one of the oldest memes. That goes back years now. And so yeah. So this is just some thoughts I had, and I'm not saying that people are going to be like, "Don't mess with Ben Shapiro." I'm like, no. Ben Shapiro starts pushing back on this. That's it. Put your hand on his shoulder. Give him the SWAT tap. We're right behind you. Right here, right behind you, Haganah style. All right, later on.